This is Brad Willis. I'm the moderator of the MetalStorm fan group. As you may or may not know, we're located on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/MetalStorm fan group. As of this moment, I think we've got about 335-ish members. I think a lot of the best players in the world. We have some very new players. We have a lot in between. And I think it's a place where you can go and not only get to know some of your fellow MetalStorm players, but I think also you can learn a lot about the game. And I've learned a lot myself just interacting with a lot of these folks. But enough of that. What we're going to talk about today is the new MetalStorm online update, I should say, which is version 5.2. Been a number of changes. It would help if I could speak. The number of changes with this new update. The one of the most important ones, I think, is the elimination of a bug that allowed a player to disconnect even if they were losing 5 or 10 to nothing, and then reconnect and be credited with a win. And we had folks really gaming the system and taking advantage of that, and that's not really fair. They have racked up, multi-hundred thousand skill ratings just by disconnecting, and so apparently that's been resolved, so that's a good thing. We have some new planes in this new release. We have again this technical bug that's been fixed that we just spoke of, and we also have a new missile. Now let's start with the new missile. The new missile that's been added is the Matra T-55. I've played it. It's actually a pretty decent missile. It fits somewhere between something like a ram and a Lancer. Now if you look at the statistics on this thing, you look at the damage, plus 50%. Okay, compare that to, let's say, a ram at a plus 30. So you obviously have more damage. Speed is the same. It's the same as a Lancer, also plus 35. Tracking at plus 75 for the ram. This is at plus 110. Lancer is a whole different story at plus 250. You're getting a lot more tracking out of that Lancer. But you do get definitely a boost in terms of the tracking and a boost in terms of the damage, and I noticed it. I played a little bit earlier against this plane, and against this missile, I should say, and I noticed that it was hitting me at times where normally I would not have been hit with a ram. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I don't see that it hurts anything, and it is an interesting missile, so that's probably a positive addition to MetalStorm. We're going to take a quick look at the planes here as well and see what's new. Now you're going to see that I have a lot of planes, but we're going to get to the new one. So I'm just going to scroll through my usual inventory until we see something new pop up, which we should in just a moment here. And here's the first of the new planes, which is the Tundra Agility class. I can't speak, I'm sorry, and I haven't even been drinking. Damage plus 6%, which is, it's okay. A lot of the Agility class now have, well, the older stuff, like I have Spectre up here, that I think is plus 6, but some of the newer planes are plus 10 or even plus 12. So it's a little extra kick, but it's nothing to write home about. Speed plus 8, that's not that impressive. It's better than nothing, but it's not terrific. Agility plus 8 is also not, it's something, but it's not terrific. Evasion at a plus 5. Evasion, as you probably know, that makes it a little harder for other missiles to track and lock onto you. It makes it a little easier for you to avoid getting hit with the missile with some maneuvering. So there's nothing real exciting about this plane, and maybe a newer person might like it. I don't think a lot of the really experienced players will love it, but you never know, I guess, till you fly it. But anyway, there's another look at it, of course, the Tundra. Why not add it, but it's not very exciting. Now let's just kind of scroll down here, and we'll find the next of the new planes. And I guess I scrolled too far, so we'll work our way back. This is the Vindicator, which is Agility class. It's 1,000 medals, and actually this is an interesting plane. It's the same basic body style as the Panther, which is a K-12 Panther, which is kind of a very basic plane. Critical strike plus 8, I think that's best in class. That increases your damage at a total random rate when you hit, but it can make a real big difference. I think it's a double. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. 10% damage is very solid for Agility class. Agility at plus 13 is very close to best in class, and I think damage resistance at 12% is best in class. Wrath has, I think, plus 8. So you have best in class, critical strike, best in class, damage resistance, near best in class, agility, and a high damage. So this plane, I think, will do some damage. Only thing I'd like to see personally is I use a lot of energy because I maneuver a lot. Doesn't have an energy bonus, so somebody that maneuvers a lot, they will find themselves running out of energy. But it is an interesting plane for sure. Now let's scroll up and look at the two above this. There's the Anubis, I guess it is. You know, I was just kind of calling it the noob, you know, or it looks to me kind of like a plane for noobs, you know, for newer players. It doesn't have really tremendous statistics, but it's fairly cheap to buy. Of course, then you have to do the metals and upgrade it, but same with below the ISIS. And Anubis is weapons class. You have reasonable damage resistance. That'll help a little bit. Missile tracking isn't really worth much, I suspect. At 2%, I don't think you'll notice a lot of tracking with that plane, maybe a little bit. 6% damage is mediocre for the class, and evasion 6% will help a little bit. Again, with the ISIS below, and it's very boring the way that they've just switched colors on these two planes. I'm a little surprised that they didn't get a little bit more creative, you know, but it is what it is. So, you know, this is an agility class, fairly basic plane, better than the most basic of planes, I would assume, but not an upper tier type of a plane. You got a little bit of a critical strike boost, not a real big deal, but better than nothing. Some extra energy, again, helps, but not fabulous, but +8, you will notice that. +5 agility is fairly poor. Compared to a lot of these planes, and +8 speed is also fairly poor. So neither of these planes are very exciting, but maybe the noobs will like the Anubis. I don't know, you know, but I don't think I'll buy them personally. I think there's one or two more, maybe just one more. Quicksilver. So you see, you've got this is one of the. This might be to me the most interesting plane. That you have an overheat limit of 12. That's when you're shooting your cannon, so the cannon won't run out of, it won't overheat, I should say, and lock up. Damage at +12 is, I think the best in class is Sentinel at +17, but +12 is up there fairly good. You can do some damage with a +12. +15 agility, best in class. I think the prior winner in that category is the Sky Demon. Of course, this plane does not have the speed of the Sky Demon. In fact, you see it has no speed boost whatsoever, which is a bit of a problem, but at least you have nice agility. And, of course, extra armor always comes in helpful, you know. So that is a interesting plane. It has the potential to be a very solid plane, but I haven't used it yet. I think that's it. Now, what I'm going to do, I talked about the Tundra, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Okay, so what I'm going to do is play a game, and we'll see if anything is different, and to see if there's lag. And one thing to remember when you get these new releases is that many times you cannot play an opponent until they too have upgraded. So, you know, usually you have a gazillion people in auto match. Initially, when this release rolls out, most of the time they have to upgrade before you can play other people. So you're going to have, at least initially, a limited scope of opponents. It also may mean that the lag might, and I say might, get worse later as more players start to get in the system, because again, a lot of people are not going to have this upgrade. It was just rolled out today. So enough talking, let's play, and I'll just comment during the game on what I'm thinking, and you know what I'm doing, and if anything feels different and that sort of thing. So we're going to wait for a connection here, and as I mentioned to you, it might be a little tough to get an opponent. Okay, here we go. So we've got Made in Texas. He's using the new missiles with the Sky Demon, and it looks like he's a pretty good player. Let's try to beat him. We're going to roll hard to the right. I'm going to accelerate fire, and I'm going to duck like heck. Now, I did notice one thing right off the bat. His missiles were mistimed in terms of the location. And in other words, what I'm saying, and I'm trying to stay away from him and talk at the same time. In other words, his missile initially did not come from where it appeared like it should come from. Now his missile, you see, he's hit me a few times, so there is some reasonable tracking on that missile, and I've just got to be careful. But that was a problem we had during the last update, where when the shot was fired, the missile was not coming from the location it looked like, and I saw that when we first opened up here. Now, I'd like to hit him, but he's making it a little tough. Got a duck, and we got him good. Yeah, that's a decent missile. You know, it does a decent amount of damage, and I think the tracking is pretty good. Now we're going to try to get a shot on him, and then you're going to watch how I duck like crazy, because I know darn well he's firing at me, and I just want to get past him and dogfight and use the advantage of my agility. Now let's see if we can't get a couple more shots on him, and I'm trying to be careful because I don't really want to be killed. So you note, especially for the new players, when I'm firing, I'm just getting out of his way and hoping that my missiles connect with him. Fire. Now there he is. I'm accelerating because he had a potential shot on me, and I don't want to give him that. There he comes again. We got a minute left. We're going to roll hard, and that didn't really work. So we'll go ahead and accelerate. My energy looks pretty good. He's got a shot on me. I got to be real careful there. And let's take another shot at him. I didn't really have a very clear shot. And he's just basically keeping things nice and open. I'm trying to come at him from a distance and not be destroyed, which is easier said than done sometimes. And he probably could have killed me there if he'd shot just right. Sky Demon is a very good plane. I think it's probably my favorite plane. This guy's decent in it. So he's a pretty good player. Now here he comes again. He's going to fire at me. I'm going to get out of his way. And again, with the agility planes, as you probably know, especially for the newer players, they have quite an advantage, and you really want to stay out of their way. You know, just a couple shots from these things and you're toast. So you really can't sit out there in front of them and play around too very much. Sometimes it's a mistake that I make because I am essentially, well, see, he got me, but that's okay. We got 1 second left. He got a kill, but we won the game at 2-1. I didn't really notice a lot of lag in that game. I think the missile seems pretty good. I did notice, however, as I mentioned to you when the game first started, the missiles were not coming out of the location that they should be. They weren't coming from the plane. They were off to the left. So that may be an issue that they need to tweak. But it seems like a decent release, certainly. From what I can see, I like the release. You know, I like the new missile. It seems like a decent option. I can't see anything negative about it. A couple of the planes are interesting for sure. A couple of them are not that interesting, really. I think there's, what, 5? So, oh, you know what? There's a plane I missed. Let's go back to it. When I scrolled down, that screwed me up. So we're going a little out of sequence here, but that's okay because we'll cover it. There is a new defense class plane. Here it is, MO-10 Condor. This plane is for survival players, I would say. You know, it has no extra agility. So now there's good about it. You can fire like crazy. Look at that missile reload, plus 14. But and tracking, nice. I don't know if many of the other defense, I don't know if any of them do have tracking. Damage is pretty good, and you got a lot of armor regen. I think that's the same as Red Dragon. It's certainly right up there. So this would probably be considered one of the better survival planes, would be my guess. Probably not that great in versus, you know, because you just don't have the agility. And so, yeah, if you hit them, fantastic. But once they get past you, they're going to pick you apart. So I guess if you can sit there and just shoot real fast, maybe. But I don't think you're going to see this plane very much in versus. You'll probably see it a lot in survival, and it is interesting in that regard. So anyway, let's wrap this video up. It seems like a good release. The plane, there's some interesting planes. There's an interesting new missile. I think that they got rid of that loophole that let people basically cheat and rack up skill rating points by just disconnecting. So far, it seems very good. So anyway, I guess that's about it for right now. We'll see how this goes as we play a little more and we get more players online. But it does seem like it was probably a good job by Z2 getting this thing done and getting it out there in such a way that I think it's going to improve the game. So having said all of that, I am going to go ahead and sign off. I thank you for your time. And as always, I will see you in the skies playing MetalStorm.